Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lain. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, welcome your garden host, Ken Lain.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. We are in the peak of it. Things are going crazy. In fact, I'm starting to adjust for my spring bloomers. They've been blooming like crazy for 2 months straight, solid. I'm starting to do a bit of summer pruning. So my euphorbias, rainbow ascot, there's several euphorbias. You're talking about gopher plant or gopher spurge. That's actually a euphorbia. It's sort of like a ground cover. It depends on the variety. I can't say that. So your succulents, it's like a cactus, holds a lot of moisture in its structure and in its roots. They've got real thick, heavy roots. They're very drought hardy. Animals don't eat them. They're kind of one of my favorite perennials out in the yard. Well, they've been in bloom, and now the blooms are starting to fade. Sage, I've had meadow sage. It's a beautiful wildflower. I've got great big patches of it. And the purple flowers are now just dead spent spires on top of the foliage. I'm pruning those back, not right to the ground, just the flower tips I'm taking off. What else? Jupiter's beard. I'm taking that one back. So the flower has been blooming like crazy, had these bright pink flowers hovering above this kind of knee-high foliage. It's been stunning. There's nothing like it. Super drought hardy, spreads through the yard. It's a great plant. But now it's going out of bloom. There are just a very few spent pink flowers left. I went, okay, that's it. We're gonna force you to bloom again. And so I took my head shears and I just kind of sheared off just the flower, not the whole plant. I kept the foliage up. And so I've sheared the sages, the salvias, the euphorbias, the Jupiter's beard back, and I fertilized them with all-purpose plant food, which you should do everything in the yard by the end of the month. So we're getting down to the rains are coming. You want fertilizer over that rock lawn. You want fertilizer spread out underneath the trees. You want fertilizer out. You need organic food out there in the yard. So when it does rain, it activates and just starts to reinvigorate those plants. They are heat stressed. And so a little bit of care goes a long ways. And then the things that were in bloom, if you deadhead or pinch off or just shear back, the spent flowers, as soon as we get some rain, it will just go right back into bloom. I'm talking within 3 weeks, go right back into bloom. And you'll have another 2 months of flowers. It's amazing. You can trick plants. And what plants are doing, they've been blooming. And they're going, okay, there we go. My work is done here. I just want to relax and let the seed do their duty. And so they start to form seeds after the flower's pollinated. If you cut that flower off, it's going right back into grow mode. It's going, oh no, I can't reproduce. I'm heat stressed already. What's going on? I need to actually force more flowers, attract the pollinators, bring more butterflies and bees, help them out, help me out. And they start to bloom again because they're thinking, I want to reproduce out in the yard. Plants' way of making whoopee out in the yard is flowers. So and then it's that seed. If you cut those seeds off, it'll go right back into bloom. I would say over half or 2/3 of all flowers, perennials, will go right back into bloom. So Lisa and I were going on vacation here pretty quick. And so I wanted to, we're gone for a week or so, maybe a little longer. And, house sitters are taking a look, watching, staying at the house. And so I cut back the flowers just before I leave. And so they look kind of bad for a few days. Then they start to flush new growth, then set new flowers. And by the time I get back, they look like whole new plants. So you can time some of this stuff to your advantage out in the gardens. So my tomatoes, the vegetables in general. But tomatoes specifically, peppers are kind of sensitive. Actually, squash can be sensitive. They're stubborn to set those first fruits. So they've been actively growing. So your squash plant is 3 feet round, 3 feet tall. It's huge. It's a monster. We've harvested our first zucchinis, had them on the grill. Oh, they melt in your mouth. They were just so good. Our first tomatoes are all on. So they're your cherry tomatoes. they're actually starting to come off the vines. Your medium-sized fruits, so the celebrities, champions, early girls, the Romas, those are mid-sized fruits, not slicers, but close. They're getting heavy. They're heavily set. And the one that's stubborn are your big tomatoes, your big boys, brandy wines. If it's a slicing great, the tomato's going to be as big as your hand, your fist. Those can be stubborn. They're growing like crazy, and they get so invigorated by growth. They just go vine, vine, vine. It's hard to keep them in the cages, hard to keep them staked up. They're already 4 feet tall, and they're going to get 6 head high and higher. They're wanting to grow. They need that foliage to set the fruit, to have enough photosynthesis, enough foliage to create the sugars to make that fruit, and they know it. And so they don't set fruit until they've got enough. Well, what happens is they get growing like crazy. They actually forget to stop growing. And so my plants are now 4 feet tall. They are old enough, big enough, tall enough to start setting some fruit, doggone it. And you're going to do it in the Lain casa. We're going to have some big tomatoes, and I'm going to force you to do this. And here's what I'm doing. So if your tomatoes are not setting fruit as much as you want, or haven't set fruit quite yet, if you want more fruits, and this really goes for tomatoes, they're the kind of the tip of the spear, but this is good for all plants, all vegetables out in the yard. It works on all of them. I get a bottle of Blossom Set. And so I'm spritzing mine right now. I'm hitting them every week. I'm going, you are going to set fruit. That's it. And so I go out in the morning. It's cool. It's brisk. It just feels good. And I start spritzing the foliage with this Blossom Set, is what they call it. Usually it's called tomato and pepper Blossom Set. But really, you can just go vegetable, because it helps with cucumbers. It helps with squash. It helps with pumpkins. It helps them. And so what it does is your tomatoes are growing so fast, it causes them to slow down and take a breather. Hey, just why don't you rest for today? You grow, put on the full, you had a leg day yesterday, you got your arm days, and you need to rest. Let those muscles kind of build up and settle. It causes that plant to rest. And so peppers are notorious for not setting flowers. They want their plants, the foliage to be up tall enough, and they want it to be warm enough. So that's what peppers are thinking. Tomatoes just grow so fast, they forget to stop growing. And so Blossom Set helps them just kind of slow down and take it all in. And so then you'll see it goes, okay, it'll blossom more. My tomatillos, they're huge, and they're covered with flowers, but they're not quite setting fruits yet. They will, because I've started hitting them once a week with Blossom Set. Now, as soon as I start seeing I start seeing fruits on my plants, then I shift it. So my plants get Blossom Set year round, or while they're in the growth mode. During the growing season, I hit them at least once a week to every other week with Blossom Set. It just forces more fruits to show up. It forces bigger fruits. Once I start seeing fruit show up on my plant, I shift. I go from once a week to once every other week. And I'm spritzing once a week with something. So what I do is I'll inject an additional one. It's called Rot Stop, R-O-T Stop, Rot Stop. It's liquid calcium, basically. So I've got some peppers that are kind of stubborn. They're setting fruits, but they're kind of smaller. I hit them now. They're setting fruits. I hit them with Blossom Set one week. The next week I hit them in the morning with Rot Stop. And I just switch those two things off. 1 week this, Blossom Set, 1 week Rot Stop. I just shift them off. What liquid calcium does, or Rot Stop, it forces the fruits to be larger, thicker walled, juicier, sweeter. Actually, calcium brings out the flavor of plants. So you get more cucumbers, bigger eggplants. It's nothing but good. If in doubt, it can only help. It cannot hurt. And so whenever you're spraying anything, and it's this warm in the summer until the monsoons come, you want to be morning focused. It's good for you. It's cooler. It's better. It's less windy. The afternoon is windy. Oh my gosh. And it's hot. So if you're killing bugs with a neem oil or an organic or even a hardcore indoor outdoor spray, the ground is moving with grasshoppers. I want them gone. Indoor outdoor spray. We'll show you how to get them gone like now. They'll be quivering by the end of the day. We can show you, but spray in the morning. It's better for you. It's less windy. It's cooler. and it's more humid out in the gardens. The plants favor that. And so blossom set, rot stop. Where else did I go with pruning back plants? It's all going to benefit. Got a lot in store for you. Got Lisa Watersling coming in with your garden questions right after this.
Water's Garden companion plants for June are moonshine yarrow, silverberry, Hall's honeysuckle, and sunburst locust.
Sunburst locust cheerfully shouts, "Hello, spring," with its glowing yellow leaves.
As summer heats up, it settles down to a naturally cool green, only to turn gold again in the autumn.
This Water's exclusive casts a dappled shade, perfect for reading books or sharing an outdoor meal, and impervious to deer.
You'll find the coolest trees here at Water's Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain, owner of Water's Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Water's Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com.